during Donald Trump's campaign for President of the United States in the 2016 election. He refused to release his tax return information, breaking a 40-year custom of candidates for the presidency doing so. The controversy surrounding Trump's tax returns continued through his presidency, with numerous political and legal conflicts occurring between Trump and those attempting to obtain them. In September 2020, the New York Times obtained and reported upon more than 2 decades of data from Trump's personal and business tax returns. The records show that Trump paid no income taxes in 10 of the preceding 15 years, largely because he reported far more losses than gains. That Trump is engaged in long-running and ongoing audit battle with the Internal Revenue Service over the legitimacy of a $72.9 million tax refund claimed by Trump after declaring massive losses, and that Trump personally guaranteed $421 million in debt, much of which is coming due in the next several years. Prior to and during his 2016 presidential campaign, Trump repeatedly promised to release his tax returns, but then reneged on his pledge to do so. Trump became the first major party presidential nominee and president since 1976 to refuse to release his tax returns to the public. Trump has repeatedly and falsely claimed he cannot make his returns public while they are under audit. Trump has engaged in a lengthy legal battle to keep his tax returns secret. In May 2019, the U.S. House of Representatives Ways and Means Committee subpoenaed the IRS for 6 years of Trump's returns, with which the Trump administration refused to comply, leading to a lawsuit to enforce the subpoena. Separately, the House Oversight Committee subpoenaed Trump's accounting firm for tax records and other records, as part of an investigation into Trump's conduct, which Trump sued to block. The U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia and the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia upheld the validity of the subpoenas. In late August 2019, a New York State grand jury issued a subpoena to Trump seeking 8 years of his personal and corporate tax returns, as part of an investigation by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, including a hush money payment made during the 2016 presidential election campaign and potential tax fraud. Trump refused to comply, contending that a sitting president enjoys absolute immunity from criminal process of any kind. In October 2019, the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York ruled against Trump and ordered him to comply with the subpoena. This ruling was upheld by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit in November 2019. Trump appealed the decisions against him to the U.S. Supreme Court. In 2020, in Trump v. Vance, the court rejected Trump's broadest claims, holding that the president lacks absolute immunity from state criminal subpoenas, and ruling that the subpoena must be further examined for validity by the lower courts. In a separate decision in Trump v. Mazars USA, LLP, the court ruled that the lower courts should further assess the congressional subpoena. After Trump made a narrower argument to the Second Circuit, the court again ruled against him in October 2020. Trump again appealed to the Supreme Court, but the court rejected the appeal in February 2021, allowing the tax records to be released to prosecutors and a grand jury. In response to Trump's refusal to release his tax returns, California enacted legislation to require presidential candidates to release tax returns to be allowed on the primary election ballot. This law was later found to violate the state's constitution by the California Supreme Court. Separately, in New York, a state law was passed which would permit the state tax officials to release state tax returns to specific congressional committees upon request for legitimate purposes. On February 22, 2021, Mazars provided millions of pages of Trump's financial documents to the Manhattan District Attorney, including his tax returns from January 2011 to August 2019. The analysis is ongoing. By March 19, 2021, Trump's former personal lawyer Michael Cohen had met 8 times with investigators for the Manhattan District Attorney to cooperate with their inquiry. Fragments of information about Trump's taxes leaked at multiple times prior to 2020. In 2016, The Washington Post reported a prior audit of Trump's tax returns for 2002 through 2008 by the IRS, which was closed administratively by agreement with the IRS without assessment or payment on a net basis of any deficiency. The audit centered on a potential failure to report cancelled debts as income by Trump, and whether Trump performed a stock for debt swap. Some tax attorneys speculate the government may ultimately have reduced what Trump was able to claim as a loss without requiring him to pay any additional taxes. It is unknown whether the IRS challenged Trump's use of the stock for debt swap. WHI